Team, bow hunting is under attack in South Australia, and we need you to take some action to make sure that we can fight against the attack on bow hunting that's happening down South Australia. The reason this is so important, even if you do not live in South Australia, is because once we start to see it happen across the board, we've already seen Tassie gone. If we see South Australia gone, unfortunately it's not going to be too long before they start to come after your states as well. So there is a way that you can email them incredibly easily, and it's through the CHASA website, which is the Conservation and Hunting Alliance of South Australia. So their website is just CHASA, CHASA.org.au. If you go to that website, I'm going to do it with you right now. So I've just typed in the website. The website's popping up. I'm going to go across the top. There's the different headlines or the different menu options. You scroll all the way across to the Mail My MP. It's third from the right. So you've got Contact Us Gallery and then Mail My MP. So click onto that one there. And all you're going to do is just type in postcode. Now, the postcode does need to be from South Australia, so you do need to put a 5 to start with. So you're just going to find any MP. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to choose Zoe Bettison. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is enter in my details. So it gives you step 2. So step 1 is find your local representative. Step 2 is enter your details. You're going to enter in all of your details there. Step 3 is decide on an email content layout. And what you're going to do is jump down to template number 3, which is support bow hunting. So all you're going to do is click through to that after you've filled in your details. It will auto-fill the template for you down the bottom. And what you can do is if you wanted to, you can modify any of the information that's there. If not, it is quite a good little message as it is. So you can go through and you could put your own sign off on it. You could also put a new subject line on it, and that's just going to get some different eyes on the fact that we really do love and support bow hunting, and that we want them to do the same for us. So I know everyone within South Australia would really appreciate your help with that. I know anyone within bow hunting, we need to come together as a community and help out with this. And I think this is such a good and easy thing for us to do for each other as bow hunters. So I really hope you get behind that. It's chasa.org.au. This episode is brought to you by Dog and Gun Coffee. I love Dog and Gun Coffee, and if you trial it, I know you're going to love it too. And the cool thing about Dog and Gun is that they're giving you guys a $10 off your next order when you use the code, all in capitals, Bowhunter. That's Bowhunter, all in capitals, for $10 off of your next Dog and Gun Coffee order.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Team, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm excited to share this one with you. Mitch is a really genuine dude, guy that I'm proud to call a friend, and I think realistically just has so much knowledge that he can share and impart with you guys. Something that he has done over the last 3 years, as you're about to learn, is he's been guiding up in the Cape, and so he's had some really cool experiences, really cool stories he shares with us, but then also some really good learnings as a guide, but also as a bow hunter or a hunter in general. That's really kind of furthered him as a guide, I think, and realistically can further you guys as hunters, whether you're hunting with a rifle or a bow. So yeah, I think he just shares some really cool stories, really, really great knowledge from up there, especially from this year where they had to kind of tough it out a little bit differently with the wet season. So there's a lot of good insights in this one. Sit back, relax, and enjoy them. Maybe get out your notepad and take down those hints and tips as they come through.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Bowhunter. Sitting here in person with Mitch Warren. Welcome, mate.
How you going, mate?
Good. Very good to have you around.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah. It's been we were just talking about before, so there's essentially been 3 years of you guiding since then, but that's also between COVID, so...
It's been hard.
Yeah. So have you gone consecutively every year up to the Cape since 2019 then?
Yep.
It has been?
Yep.
So when did we do our interview? Must have been in 2019, like just
Yeah, I think
just
it was
before you went.
real late 2019, I think.
And then you went in 2019. Like, did you go?
I'd been just before that, and
Yep.
then I went again 2020, 2021. and
Okay,
then
so
again
you've
this
been
year.
able to weave it in throughout COVID to be able to get away and do them still.
Yeah, made it work. It's been hard a couple of times, but we've made it work.
You guys actually, I remember that because you have to deal with a fair bit of cancellations on
Yeah.
1 year? Yeah,
Yep.
it was like your first year guiding, wasn't it? You had some issues.
Yeah, and I think like this year was actually pretty busy with some pretty big groups too, because it was kind of moving through that backlog of people that couldn't come.
Yeah, okay.
So they've all been able to come this year now because, I had one bloke in particular, he'd been booked in for the last 2 years, and it had come to like, I think last year, it was like the week before he was supposed to jump on a plane and fly up. They said,
Nightmare.
borders shut, no travelling. So that was
Jesus.
it was a bit of a bummer, but, still everyone came this year and had a blast. So, made up for it.
Let's talk about this year, because this year has been very different to any year, I believe, up at the Cape in regards to the layout and the amount of water that they had and how difficult, essentially how difficult it's made it, considering most of the time you guys just focus on the water sources, right? That's pretty much where you'll hang out to some extent, because that's where the pigs and the cattle and whatever else that you're hunting are going to be, versus this year where there's a lot of water about, so they just don't have to travel.
Yeah, it definitely, like for me, I'd never seen the country like that before. And like last year, I remember last year was still wet, but it wasn't as much water around as what this year was. So that definitely, it made it hard. But it was more a learning thing though too for myself, because you just sort of had to think outside the box, and it was like, okay, they're not here,
Where are they?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, what do they need? They need bloody some loving, some water, and some food. So you gotta start looking at those other things instead. So
Do pigs mate all year round, right? Like, it's just as long as the girl is an estrus, they'll just go for it.
yeah,
right?
I've seen it in full swing last year, and it's it's pretty wild to experience.
I can imagine. So pretty much, if you've got food and water everywhere, and you know that some girls might be on heat, what's the theory to go and find them then?
Look, that myself, I can't really pick that each year. I'm sort of more across, for me then, it was more the looking for the food sources for them.
Yeah, okay.
So we had, we call them nunga nuts, but they're like those nonda plums.
What's that?
Oh, it's kind of like a little fruit about an inch
Off
in
of
diameter,
a
like
bush,
a little.
essentially, or
Oh, it comes off a tree.
yeah, okay,
And they kind of look like they almost look like a little orange.
yeah, okay.
They're called nonda plum, and when they come into when they start dropping off the trees, you'll find
pigs
that's
in
where
there.
the pigs start to traffic through that area. And
Yeah.
there's other fruits and trees and stuff that they like to dig into, but those ones for myself anyway. I know
It's just easy food, right? Like,
they're
not going to work hard if they don't
and
have to.
I've got exactly, and I've got a bit of an idea where there's a few plantations, if you will, of where they are around the property. So at
Yep.
least that gives you a bit better.
How big
map.
is the property?
So we can hunt across 3 of the properties there. We've got rights on, and that's Yarradin, Crystal Vale, and Holroyd River, and there's a total of 1.2 million acres there. So that's the other thing against us too. It's like
Exactly, trying to map out like, oh yeah, there's one plantation here,
Yeah.
and then another one, 1.2 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's only a 5-hour drive.
Exactly.
But,
So how much of that do you guys actually cover? Like, I know obviously you try to shift your clients around potentially where you're going, but how much of that do you actually see?
So, we'll probably... Crystal Vale itself is... just trying to remember. I think it's just over 200,000 acres. So it's obviously the smaller of the 3.
Yeah.
We sort of hang on that one more, only because, Yarradin's pretty... rocky, hilly sort of country, so there's not that and there's not a great deal of water sources there for them and that sort of thing either. And plus, there's a lot more cattle happening on that property, there's always a lot more people, a lot more mustering, that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
So,
And big teams like of cattle farmers, of jackaroos and whatever else there.
yes and no. It just it depends on the time in the season too,
okay.
and when they've got a planned muster and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we just find that that block in the middle tends to be a bit of a thoroughfare for certain areas. So that's where our camp is too. So that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
We kind of really base it too around clients themselves, because we get I've got a bit of a reputation in camp for like walking the legs off people. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
you know, like if we get a couple of young fellas come, you know, like I'll take them as far as their legs will take them.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of comes back to just that little bit of a drive too. If you are having a hard day, you know, I don't want anyone to go home saying that they didn't get an opportunity.
Definitely.
So you know, we can do everything but shoot them for them. But
exactly.
like if I can't even get them an opportunity, I'm pissed at myself for that. But I can let it get in my head a bit too sometimes, which is, it's obviously you're just like walking, next bend, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we've only got this far to go back to the car.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny, and I'm going to interject a little bit because I literally had this experience yesterday. I told you about it over dinner, but had a friend whose dad runs a cattle farm, and they had a rooster stag come in, and the rooster stag attached itself to the cattle. And he's asked me to go out with him because the dad wanted it shot, and he's got his license, a gun license. He's like, man, come out. I'd love to get some meat from it. I have no idea about how to butcher it, so can you come and help me? I was like, yeah, of course, let's go do it. So we got out there, and this cow's literally like attached itself to the cows. No, sorry, the stag's attached itself to the cows. It would like mirror the cows as they'd walk pretty much. One cow would walk off and it would walk straight behind it pretty much. It was so bizarre to see.
Smart deer.
Exactly, yeah, apparently. And it was really stirring the cows up, and that's why he wanted it gone. He's like, is it affecting the cows, and they're about to calve, so we just got to get rid of it. And so we watched it go over this hill following this cow, and we pretty much went to follow through. And as we went to follow through, we found a calf that was on its deathbed pretty much. So I had to call the farmer to come on in. His dad came around and got it. And that took up a fair bit of time. So we went to follow it up pretty much from where it went, and we just lost it. Like, this deer was just gone. Like, the cattle that was with just gone. Like 10 cows. I think there's probably like 3 or 4 calves, and we could not find them anywhere. And I was like, dude, so this is the valley it went over. This is like the potential valleys it's gone through to get to the house block. And we walked it. Then we went and got the car and we drove it. And I was like, how are we not seeing them? They've got to be right here. They're bound to be right here. And I didn't feel like a knob, but you start to get like down yourself. Like, what am I missing here? Like, how is this not happening when it should just be right there?
Yep.
And it all came together for us. We ended up shooting it right back at the house block pretty much, which is bizarre. Just a funny story in itself, but I know, like, in a sense, I think I can say I know what you feel.
Yeah, relate
in
to
that
it.
moment. Yeah.
And it's funny you say that you shot it right back next to the house. Is like you wouldn't believe how many times you'd be driving back late in the afternoon and you'll see one just walk across the road, like, you know, like 100 metres from camp. You're like,
of course,
you know, like,
I should just stay here all day.
Yeah,
you can never pick it though. That's the thing, right?
Well, that's why it's called hunting. Not bloody. Oh, I don't know what else.
Sit and wait.
Yeah,
yeah. Although I guess that's part of the game sometimes. So, what are you guys hunting up there? Mixture.
Predominantly pigs. Good Cape York boars, and then you know, the options there for scrub balls as well for clients.
Yeah.
Personally, I love taking clients hunting scrub balls. It's something I've found a little bit of a passion for. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good fun. That sort of extra element of like the hazard that's there with them. So
of all the potential game in Australia, that's the one that like gets me the most excited. Like people like buffalo, I'm like, scrub ball. Like I don't know why, it just gets me.
Yeah.
Pumped.
That's it's not everyone's cup of tea. That's for sure. Like some people just, you get some people that are just like, why would I want to go and shoot a cow? And it's like, well, have you hunted one before? Like,
see how angry they can get.
Yeah, exactly. They were born angry. They die angry. Like, you know,
just full of testosterone their whole life.
100%.
Yeah.
They wake up angry, and they're angry because they're angry. Like,
So, have you had charges and different experiences up there then, or?
I haven't had a charge where the animal's known we're there. I had an experience this year with a client though. We got into 40 yards from this bull. He was a rifle client, but just through trying to get a clear shot and everything like that, we ended up only 40 yards away, which is that's pretty good. And this bull was feeding. He was actually feeding quartering onto us, and the client was left-handed, so he's standing on the right-hand side of this big gum tree we were behind, because I like to have a little bit of something in between us.
Preferably.
Yeah, and the client Steve, he's put this shot on this bull on the money, and this bull has just he's launched about 8 feet in the air, they can jump, and this thing had 360 degrees of area that it could run.
Yeah.
But it chose to run the 2 degrees off where we were. So he come barreling down the hill, and I carry my backup rifle as well. So I was once I'd seen him turn and head our way, I was loaded, ready to go. But obviously, it's not something I want to have to do either. So I wanted to, exactly. Yeah. And as he was sort of heading our way, he got to about my threshold's about 20 yards for me to want to take over, and. He was about 30 yards out, and I could see him starting to turn. Okay. And so he come down the left-hand side of that tree. Yeah. But had no idea we were there either. I just said to Steve, "I'll just calm yourself, don't move. He'll keep going." Yeah. And sure as shit, he did. He went on the left-hand side of the tree, and he was only about 2 yards from us as he kept going. And
you didn't give him a pat on the way by?
No, it's not something I was keen on doing. But he kept going, and then he pulled up about another 40 yards behind us. Then, and client, I just said, put a follow-up shot in. Yeah, you can never be too safe with them, and that did the job for him. So,
how many scrub bulls in particular do you see multiple shots on?
We were actually talking about that up in camp this year, and I bring it down. It's very circumstantial.
Definitely.
So, because they're such a big animal, they get that adrenaline dump. They can go. I've seen a lot of animals have quite a few holes in them, and they're just not going down. And so it's just their sheer will to live that they've got. Yeah. But then, having said that, I've seen blokes single shot all over, and same thing with bows. I've seen one arrows, they walk about 15 yards and collapse, it's all over. And
heart shots or double lung for a big animal like that?
I'm a fan of the double lung. Yeah.
No matter if you're shooting rifle or bow?
Yeah. You pull that oxygen out of them, and
they're going to fall eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's a thousand different bloody schools of thought on it. Definitely. So I've just always found that to draw the best results for the situations we've been in.
Definitely.
But like we were just saying though, always circumstantial with them. Like if they have a hint of knowledge that you're there, they're already building that adrenaline. So
definitely.
You got to weigh it up too. Then whether you're actually going to take it or not as well.
How obviously they're pretty sensitive with their nose, but when they smell you, then the adrenaline starts to dump to them. Are they likely to run off, or are they more so going to try and face up to you a bit?
That can come down to the animal itself as well. I had one this year that we shot on my last day up there. It was probably about 4 seconds before the client pulled the trigger that he kind of clicked that something was going on, and he wasn't looking to tear out of there. He wasn't looking to bar up at us. He was just kind of turned his head and he was like, "No, I'll just walk away from here." There's just something's up. I'm just going to not be here anymore. And then you do get some that they're a pretty switched on animal. They're cattle and horses. When you're hunting deer and pigs and you're not even thinking about cows, they've already seen you 200-300 meters. Yeah, exactly.
How did I not even see that cow? It's right there.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Oh, that can happen too.
Yeah, it happens a lot, right? You're like, geez, I'm meant to be hunting here, and there's this monster, 1-ton animal looking at me. I didn't even see it there.
That's a big thing. If we're hunting creeks for pigs too. Yeah. You get such into a zone looking for a bedded pig or a feeding pig that all of a sudden, oh, hang on, there's a big scrubber over there.
Just looking, yeah.
But,
it happens, right?
Yeah, that's it. You kind of, obviously it comes down to I always ask the clients if they want to take one, so you kind of keep a little bit of an eye out for them. But
definitely.
If there's a day that we sort of set aside where if we know there's a good bull in an area, like that, we'll go. Go look for that.
So is it all parties pretty much, like you've got beginners through to people who have been hunting for their whole life sort of thing? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good mix.
And bow hunting and rifle hunting?
Yep.
Is it often that someone will come up and do both?
Yeah. Mate of mine that I was telling you about before, Tom, he did a bit of both this year.
Yeah, okay.
And had success on both ends. So, yeah.
That's really cool. And so is it just they come pay for a whole week and they're there then for the week, or is it like come and just get the job done and go?
No. So it's a we work on a 6-day hunt, Tuesday to Tuesday, based around the mail plane.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you come. That's your
way
week. Your week holiday, basically.
Yeah.
While you're there, excuse me.
Yeah. Right.
And
yeah, that's pretty good. And so is there pretty much whenever you get someone into camp, is there some sort of, I guess, way that you need to vet them into the system before you go out and start hunting? Like, is there any way that you'll talk them through, like, okay, this is what we're going to do? Or is it pretty much, like, in a sense, what I guess I'm getting at is how do you know what level they're at before you go out hunting with them?
Oh, yeah. Basically pretty much the afternoon when everybody gets in, that night we all have a bit of a yarn around the fire and just sort of get a gauge on, like you say, have a chat about, previous hunts that they've been on and that sort of thing. And then you can just kind of, and even sometimes blokes are just up front. They're like, hey, brand new, never, not never been hunting, but, never first trip up here, didn't think I'd ever get up here, and that's what a few of our clients are. Like it's that one big trip for them.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
And it's kind of, that's where it becomes pretty rewarding to be a part of too, because it's you want to make it the best trip you can for them too.
Definitely.
So.
Is that more rewarding than getting someone who's been doing it for their whole life, or do you think there's benefits to both, or you still feel a reward from both?
Yeah, there's benefits to both. So that ball that just come, I was just talking about running by us. The fellow that shot it, he's I think he's just turned 70. Been hunting all his life, and he was shaking just as much as I was. Like once we'd walked up and it was all over, like he was just so wrapped because it was, like I was saying, it was one of those things he thought he'd never hunt.
Yeah, definitely.
And when the opportunity come along, he took advantage of it and we made it happen. And it was a big thing for him, even though he's been
hunting his whole life.
He's been hunting all his life. He's taken some great animals. He's hunted Africa and everything like that too.
Wow.
But it was just like it was just that one animal that he hadn't shot before, so I got to share that moment with him.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I think first of species is obviously a pretty special thing.
100%.
But especially when it's a big caliber animal like that, it adds that little bit extra to it.
Yeah, makes that a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, definitely. And so taking out beginners, what's kind of your rundown that you give them? Like when, say, for instance, you had a brand new bow hunter, not done much hunting before, maybe shot a few pigs or a few goats or something. They're coming up hunting the boars with you. What's kind of a rundown you'll give them day one?
I just pretty much pull up and have a bit of a yarn with them first. We'll walk up to the first morning. We'll walk up to the range there, have a few shots, and at least for us too, we can kind of gauge their skill base off that as well.
Definitely ease the nerves as well. It's always nervous shooting in front of someone for the first time.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah, and that's the thing too. And you can kind of walk through with them then too, if they have been on one or two hunts. What they did on that hunt, that sort of thing, and you can kind of work out. Okay, well. If there's work needed in some areas, we're going to do the best we can
to educate along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we do have a few fellas that leave saying, I learnt more from this afternoon in camp while we were having a chat about someone else's hunt. It's one of those things where the whole week becomes a bit of a journey for everyone.
Definitely.
Like even us. Like we learn so much from the clients too. So because there's sometimes you just get newbies will ask you questions sometimes. Like I can't think of one off the top of my head now.
But then you're like, I just haven't thought of it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're just kind of like, well, yeah, hang on. Like that made me think.
That was actually, I think, a lot of the popularity of the podcast to start with was people saying, it's good to see it from a beginner's perspective because it was things that they were thinking as another beginner but hadn't really ever thought to ask it or never had the opportunity to ask someone. So when I was then asking those questions, people were like, wow, it's nice to have someone on the same kind of level. And I think even as I still get more into bow hunting, I still want to try bring that to it. Like I still ask as many questions as I can to try filter that through still, because I think it's just so important, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely to have that side of it.
That's where I got to get better at communicating too. Sometimes I'm just a bit like, oh yeah, I don't know.
At least you go back and find out later, right?
Yeah,
I'll find out for you.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you're not just telling some story.
Oh no, 100%.
Oh mate, yeah. Whenever you see this willow tree, you just got to do this.
Yeah.
Lead one complete goose chase.
Yeah, nah.
Nothing like that.
No.
And so, like, how many pig numbers? Like, what are the numbers like up there? Is it just ridiculous?
Yes and no.
Yep.
Again, but like this year we still saw a lot of pigs this year, even though it was so wet. But we were seeing a lot more of the family mobs and that sort of thing. So pigs were still there, but trying to find that old boar,
It's
you
tough
know,
to come by. Yep.
exactly. So
Yep.
and you know it normally is too anyway.
Definitely. But it's just that extra level, another layer of it.
Yeah, so we've always got pretty good numbers there.
And do people come up and say, look, I want to hunt just the family mobs? Like, is that a thing that's allowed?
So we try and avoid that.
Yeah, just to keep
where
numbers.
possible.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. Like, obviously, it is a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously the idea of hunting's to get rid of feral species, but you know, for the guiding side of it, you know, you kind of want...
You're still running a business.
Exactly.
You still got to
Exactly.
keep the
you want
numbers
to
up.
keep it manageable. So, like, if we've had a bit of a rough trot, you know, like, you know, if it come to it,
Yeah,
you know,
would. Yeah.
if someone wants to shoot, you know, if there's a young boar having a feed or something all bedded up, you know, especially for a newbie, too, it's kind of good just to sort of take that element of like this is the pig of a lifetime out of it.
Definitely.
And that kind of, at least that gets them more engaged in the hunt itself then too. So,
And so are you kind of always then, when you see a pig, like say you find a boar, are you then talking to the member about like, or your client about, okay, well, this is sort of the caliber he's at. Like this should probably go like a 21 inch, 24 inch, 26 inch or whatever it might be. Like, are you talking about that with them or not really?
like we'll do our best to have a good look at the animal with them, talk them through what's going through my head and that sort of thing, and like, try and gauge, because like up there it's you can get a couple of different stock types of pigs up there, and obviously you want the old skinny old fella, like nuts are
On
all
the way
tucked
back
up.
down.
Yeah, exactly. And but then you can still get some big body boars as well with some good hooks. So trying to gauge like body size as well with it. And then that comes back to an age thing as well, because you can get, especially if you've got a boar, like a decent sized boar, bedded facing away. Yeah. Well, you kind of want to check his headgear first before you decide. Yeah, let's plug in.
Which might not necessarily be easy with winds and whatever else.
Oh, exactly. And up there, honestly, man, the wind it's a bitch.
The killer. Yeah, just swells.
Yeah, it just does what it wants to up there. It doesn't really have a
just to make it harder for you. Hey?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the most consistent wind is the one coming out your mouth. So that's about it up there.
And is it strong winds, or like obviously it changes all the time? But is it pretty? At least is it more consistently strong, more consistently weak?
It's even that's hard to say. Yeah, more consistently inconsistent. Like we had it up there this year. Went for a walk with a client on the one creek, and excuse me, we'd planned with the wind, checking the wind the whole way leading up to this creek system we were going to walk, and even when we left the vehicle, checking again, looking corresponding that with the map. You know, okay, wind's coming across the map this way. Yeah, you know, we're going to be sweet. And then, you know, you get sort of 200-300 metres into your walk on the creek, and then all of a sudden you feel a big draft on your back and you're like, oh, like, it's pretty
playing so well.
It's pretty disheartening. But like on the other side of that too, I don't let that dampen me too much, because especially with how inconsistent the wind is up there, like, and I've had it happen too before. Like, you know, it might blow out a pig for the next 200 yards or something,
and
but
you're good from there.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then, like, even when I am checking the wind in the creeks, you watch the wind, even if it's blowing in your face, you'll watch your like your smoke from your bottle go. It'll get like 5 yards behind you, and then it'll swing
goes
left,
back.
and then it'll go up, and then it'll go back right. Like it's all over
Even
the place
watching
anyway.
some of the trees, or bushes or tree leaves or whatever in the creeks, you'll see them, or the grass, and just constantly moves side to side. And I think that's just because obviously creeks are bendy and turny, and there's so many walls for it to bounce off of. It can just go whichever way. Absolutely love creek hunting, but exactly that, right? It's just it's always
Fickle.
Exactly. It's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's rewarding on a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
It's such a great way to hunt up there too. So
It'd be probably one of like the, I don't want to, is it one of the main sources that you use essentially to like be able to find bedded pigs?
yeah,
Yeah.
because and that's the thing because each year too in certain areas they do a few burns on the property, and obviously that takes away a lot of the shade and feed for a lot of them. And if you get a burn coming down to a creek, you got shade, you got cool seeing from
Good
the bed
little
up.
shelter place, exactly.
Yeah, you got a little bit of water here and there.
So what are you looking for when you're out looking for pigs? Are you pretty much just glassing for sign, like glassing for ears, glassing for movement or anything? Or is it like they stand out enough up there because it's so different?
It's kind of all of the things you just said.
Yeah, okay.
There'll be sometimes you'll come around a bend on a creek and you'll see them plain as day, just laying there, just this big black thing
Just
on the
half
side of
in
the
the
bank.
water. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of the time, like we find they don't like being in the water.
Okay.
On that block, just don't like having their feet wet for a long period of time.
Okay.
Like if you get them when they're down in wallowing, they'll hang around there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But like when they're bedding up for a snooze.
They'll be away from it.
Yeah, they'll try.
Do you think that's got something to do with crocs? Is there crocs up there?
Yes. We do have freshwater crocs on that block, but they're not everywhere.
I wonder if that's like a learned trait then through the pigs.
I think especially with the big old boars, like being around the water and the food sources where all the young fellas are going to be too, and like they don't want to cop a hiding from there.
Scrap all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll have their drink and they'll just mosey on off either up into the sand ridges or they'll walk another K or so up the creek and just find a nice shady spot and pull up there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's like from doing my minimal amount of creek hunting, it's like every shady tree is just a new possibility.
Oh.
And you can look at something and it looks like it could be a pig, and then you get closer and you move it slightly to the left, slightly to the right. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's a body.
Mate, I can't, like, growing up hunting, I can't tell you how many, like, stumps I've stalked. And then how many stumps have got up and run away too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
It's the more you look for them, the more every tree and rock looks like a pig or a deer or
and
goddamn.
like that's been the benefit of having done this for the last few years now is you kind of
clue on.
Yeah, you kind of click on to where they want to be, that sort of thing, and it does make that a little bit easier, and that's kind of why, obviously it's a good like opportunity for beginners to come and do that sort of thing.
Definitely. Guiding compared to hunting for you, like as a shift, and probably realistically over the last 3 years, you've guided a heap, but you necessarily haven't hunted a heap.
I have hunted very minimally.
Yeah, like that. Do you still get the same, I guess, like happiness out of it? You still love it just as much?
Yep, 100%. Because for me, it's like I've got to be like actually. I'll take it back to last year when James Dooms just was up doing a bit of filming with us. He said to me, like, with filming, he's got to be a better hunter than the person he's filming. Yeah. And like that just resonated because guiding's the same way.
Same way. Yeah.
So it's like, so for me, it's kind of like I am hunting. But
you just
you
get
get
for someone.
you get the benefit of helping someone.
Yeah. Does it ever happen that the client sees them before you do? And you're like, damn it.
I can't
think of it.
I can't think of one.
There you go. That's good.
It has happened with like brumbies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there have been like times when like I'm either glassing like around a bend or something like that, and then someone's like, "Oh, there's some horses over there," like that sort of thing. But I'm not going to say I'm the best bloody hunter in the world either.
Definitely.
But
it's just interesting to see the shift, and it's something that you see a lot of people do after doing it for so long. Like, and you've been hunting your whole life, right? You're bred into a hunting family, and it's interesting to see that the reward it's just as big from that, if not more.
Yeah.
From doing it that way. And it seems that shift happens quite a lot. And I think that's why hunting does get passed down through family generations, because
like us as hunters know how beneficial it can be for our own mindset for everything that we do. So it's something that you're so happy to pass on. So getting into that, it makes sense, right? As an avid hunter or a happy hunter, you want to share that with other people.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. When I got asked to come and do a bit of guiding, I was like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, I can't do this, blah blah blah. And then like after my first lot of clients, I just felt so like uplifted because they came, they had a great time, they got some animals, and like it was not more that I guided them into that, but it was more that I just got to be a part of that. Like,
it's funny because you can build such a good relationship over a few days of hunting. And so, like, you must have 100 best mates now.
Oh, it's it's pretty wild. Like, that's it's so funny because blokes rock up. Sometimes you haven't met them until that point, and then like you say, when they're leaving, you're giving each other a big hug and stuff like that before they get on the plane or before they jump in the ute to drive home. Like, it's just it just does create such a what's the word I'm looking for?
Bond.
Like, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, we just had dinner before, and over dinner you're saying how, like, you meet up with your wife's granddad, I believe, and the rest of the family's off doing their everyday talk, and you're like, no, tell me more about yourself. And I think that's really cool, especially for you being in the position that you're in of going and guiding other people. To be able to be a good listener and a good questioner of people is such an important thing to make people feel then safe around you and happy to be there. But it also, you get the better stories because you dig into it then in that sense. So you probably really feel like you actually really get to know people quite well because of that. Yeah,
and that's it. And people are, especially when you're there with that common interest, like people are already that little bit more open
Guards
to
down.
Exactly. And obviously, have a night time, you got to have a few beers and that sort of thing, and all of a sudden you're hearing their life story, and some blokes have come from nothing. Some blokes, we had a bloke up there this year. He's actually a urologist from down in Sydney. Like, you just all walks of life. You know?
Definitely
just brings everyone together.
You definitely hear it all, right? And you hear some pretty cool stories.
I could tell you that urologist had some crackers. So there's a few photos going around too. We're like, ooh, But like out of that though too, that was real beneficial because he actually taught us a lot too with like how to correctly suture and that sort of stuff as well. So and that's where like people can teach us some things as well.
Exactly.
Like not that we don't know our first aid or anything like that, but like he just the different way he explained things and stuff like that.
What were you doing differently?
Well, I've never had to suture someone, so that was the first. But like he bought a couple of little suture kits and that sort of thing, and like we had a bit of a practice on. I think we were using like a rolled up tea towel or something like that. But it was just cool. It was just cool hearing it from someone that does that all the time. Yeah, like it just sort of
puts in different perspective, right? It's just a different look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's I don't know a good analogy for it, but it's just someone who knows how to do it faster and better, right? Essentially, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll take all the tips I can get.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So no, it was good. Like and that's it. And then you'll have like the last bow hunting client I had this year, he's been booked in for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we've been in touch for those 2 years, and never met each other before. And then when I picked him up in Cairns on the way through, it was like we were mates from way back in the day. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty interesting, just even on Instagram and Facebook and different social media platforms, how much you can get to talking to people. Like I've got so many people I talk to just because of the platforms. Yep. Like some of them I might never meet in face to face, but I hope that I get to, because you actually you get talking. Like I talk to people daily now. Yep. It's like I honestly talk to bow hunters more than I talk to my own friends most of the time. Like it's just through messaging. I know the feeling. Yeah, it's funny, right?
But that's what creates that community too.
Definitely.
And it's like whether you meet them or not, it's still this happened to Joe Blow. He was telling me about it, and you can pull knowledge from them. And
the referral system starts, right?
Yeah.
There's like so many people hit me up like, hey, do you know anyone down in Sydney? I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It creates that network for everyone to sort of feed off in a sense.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think are some of the biggest learnings for yourself as a guide that you've come across so far? Like, is there any big takeaways you've kind of stepped away from and been like, wow, that was a bit of an aha moment for me?
I think just trying to be a bit more this is probably going to sound bad on my part, but just being a bit more conscious of like some certain people's physical abilities.
I don't think that's bad. I think that's
like I was saying to you before, like I want to try and give everyone the best opportunities they can.
So you're going to walk them and work them as hard as you can to get that opportunity.
To a point.
Yeah.
And then like obviously I've had to kind of rein it in sometimes because you will get clients that just can't walk that far.
Definitely.
And like, you know, all the power to them. They're there doing it.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a couple of clients that are, like I was just saying before, Steve 70, and I've had another client that was, I think he was 72 or 73 last year. Like,
becomes a very different game.
Exactly, but for that too, like I just really took my hat off to them in a sense of they're still out there doing it. Like I really hope I can still be doing it.
100%. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I've hunted with a few people who definitely, like young guys, are just not fit at all. And it's almost like they feel that they need to explain why to me. I'm like, look, there's no judgment. Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
we're out hunting. I'm having fun. It's all exciting.
Look at us. You're sitting here drinking a water. I'm sitting here drinking a beer. Like, you know.
It's purely because I didn't have any beers left. That's all. But no, it's interesting. Like, I think it's funny when you get to, it's when the hard work really begins. And I think being a guide, you probably do a lot more of the hard work when it gets to that point. If you get to the cutting up of an animal and dragging it out and stuff like that. I don't know how much they get involved as a client.
It's surprising how much they will, because a lot of blokes
want to learn.
Yeah, a lot of blokes want to learn, and some blokes, for them, it's you know, they may have been doing it their way that they've been doing it, and then like you might cut one jaw out, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, I'm having to go at the next one."
Yeah,
you know?
cool.
And like that's another really good thing too, is that you just all that sharing of knowledge.
Definitely.
It's just so good.
It's like yesterday when I was with my mate, I really tried to get him to do a lot of the butchering, but we were on such a tight timeline. And I was like, I'll show you as much as I can and I'll give you to do different cuts. So I'd do it on the right side, he'd do it on the left side. But at the same time, we were really short for time. And so he's like, oh, you just do it, dude. I'm like, no, I want you to do this. Like, cut this tendon right here. And he's like, okay. So he'd do it. And it takes all of 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're still going to get it done and we're going to be in our timeline. It's fine. But we had we had a pretty hard cut, which made it tough. So it's like you try and teach that a little bit more. But I think from my experience, I'm such a hands-on person. So getting in and doing the actual dirty work, you learn so much quicker doing that stuff.
I find, like, I don't know, there's like that's the way I've always learnt things too. Like I remember going to TAFE and at school and all that. Like you could read and be told as much, but until you're there doing it, like it just never really stuck with me. But
it was quite interesting going up to Clark's, like the wild country, and doing the ridge group. Going up there, quite often you'd get back to camp and there'd be 4, 5, 6 deer down, and the butchering's going on. And there's a lot of people that just stand back. They don't want to have to deal with it. And I think that's fine. But for me, every time I was like, I'm going to get in and help as much as I can, because it's just extra practice. And you just get so much faster. Every time you do it, you learn your way around the anatomy of the body. It just gives you that little bit of extra chance. And like, I watched so many YouTube videos on just butchering to start with before I even got to an animal, because I wanted to make sure I knew how to do it to start with. And then I've done it on goats, I've done it on pigs, I've done it on everything pretty much. But then to actually get in and do it, it just makes such a difference. And even doing that stag yesterday, I'm like, so we got to go this way. And I'm like, nope, that's not quite it, this way. It's like just changing the angles of the knife is all it will be. But it's nice then being able to show that to someone. I think you learn so much more when you're showing it, because then you have to think outside of what your own head's thinking, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, and I know for myself, like I'm not the best communicator in the world, but like you say, when you're there physically doing something, people pick up on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Actually, one of the first times, it was the first time we met up, was at the.
I was actually going to bring that up myself.
Renegades,
too.
Yeah, and they were doing the taxidermy of the goat. Like, if you were skinning out a goat and you had to do it for a full shoulder mount, this is how you do it. And they said, does anyone want to have a turn? And everyone just went, like, kind of heads down because it's a big crowd. And then they just called you out, like, Mitch, you come give it a shot.
Yeah.
So you kind of got pulled into it. But to your credit, you went straight in and did it.
Yeah, well, that's it. You got to get, and at that time, I think the only animal I'd actually properly caped out was my red deer, and that was a like a 5-hour fiasco for me and Dad, because we'd never done we'd never
anything like
caved
it.
out any animal before, and then we started on a red stag. So, you know. But
Just a small job.
yeah, exactly. But what I was going to bring up about that day is that's another awesome sort of thing to get people to come
Involved.
and visually see it.
Definitely.
And visually get hands on. That doesn't make sense. But like get hands on with it and do it for themselves.
Do you know, like, and I must say that's probably something I'm not really great with, is staying in touch with what all the clubs are doing and whatever else. Like, do you know if they're kind of up and operating fully with that stuff again? Like, are they bringing more of those open days in again?
I'm not 100% sure either at the moment.
I think it's been so touchy with goddamn COVID. It's obviously just ruined everyone's operations for so long.
Everything's so hard.
Yeah.
And now that everything's sort of starting to ramp back up again, it's still hard because everyone's kind of like out of tune with everything now.
Yeah. I think the one thing that COVID did really well for bow hunting was it put it a lot more probably on the scene, in the sense, like, I remember going to pretty much all the archery shops and seeing that everyone was out of stock because they just couldn't keep up, and they were getting new bows in on order for people waiting for bows because there was something they could do in the backyard. Like, as a sport, it probably lifted a lot, I think, during COVID, because people couldn't go and do other things. And I think the thought of being able to go and get your own meat and all of that became a bit more relevant to everyone. Exactly right. Yeah. And so,
because it wasn't just like the shops you'd go, like the archery shops you'd go to where you couldn't. You go to buy meat. Yeah, we haven't got any. Sorry, like, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, like you say, across the board, it
really
just kind of brought it into
did good for us in that sense. But it'd be cool then to see everyone, I guess, within the archery clubs to be able to capitalize on that and utilize that. I guess invite the newbies in to some extent. Which you started off at Renegades.
Yep.
And are you still an active member there? You still get out?
I would have to check, because I have not been for a long while. And with adult life, there's always bills going out. So
definitely,
one of them was probably membership.
I actually find that's interesting. Like, being from a business side and seeing how business operates, and going into some of these establishments and seeing how shittily run they are. You're like, you could just make things so much easier for yourself. Like, one of the clubs I went to, they only bill you at the start of the year, and that's all you can do it. Like, you can only bill if you go at the start of the year, and you can't actually put it on a membership. You have to go and pay physically in person every time. I'm like, well, that seems very ridiculous.
Okay, right.
Like, and so it just seems backwards. And I think obviously the same sort of situation. It's easy for me to sit back here and say it, but if they were to get some better systems in place, it would work a lot better for these clubs to be able to keep operating.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying there, but I also know that's where social media's wrecked clubs like that, because for people now, all they've got to do is go to the shop, buy their gear, and then they can go out, shoot something, take a photo, and then it's like, yeah, sick, look what I did, Whereas, like, I know a lot of the clubs are still run by a lot of older blokes.
Exactly right.
And that's, older blokes get set in their ways, but in a sense, it's still a good thing.
Definitely. I don't think there's a wrong or right as such.
Yeah.
It's like, I think some systems could be really great, but I understand 100%.
And there's always room for improvement, though.
Definitely, on every element of life, I think the biggest thing for me, like, coming into archery, I really wanted to get to a club. It was just like timing for a lot of the clubs was hard for a beginner. I really found like they had their set times for certain places as to when you could go versus when you couldn't go. Until I found someone like yourself or like Adam, like people that were within the club that could then take me under their wing. And then the people who were higher up were happy for that to happen, because it's like it had the people who were well trusted within the club to be able to bring someone in. And that made it then obviously a lot less barrier to entry. But also I can shoot 40 meters from home. So it's like it was always hard to go and just shoot just for the sake of shooting. It really has to be that social side to it, I think. Yeah. It's interesting.
It is a, like, I remember as a young fella going and just doing the competition shoots, like, because I'm a member of ABA, so we still shoot, like, well, now, back in those days, it was basically a black and white drawing of an animal with zones on it, but now it's photos and stuff. But, like, it's still good, because it's kind of like, it's almost like you're hunting with your mates.
Definitely. That's actually been the funnest thing I've gone and done. It was that and the 3D shoots as well. Like, they're both a lot of fun.
I love going for the 3D shoots. They're good fun.
It's definitely worth, like, I signed up to all of them just for that, really. I was like, you know what, if I can go in and do that. And I've only done one 3D shoot, but it was like, it's stuck in my mind. I'm going to do it again. It will happen.
Let me know. We'll go and do it.
We'll go tee it up. Yeah, definitely.
I haven't done a comm shoot for a long time now. should be something I do more of.
Yeah, I think, and like you said before, as you get into adulthood, just things happen. Life happens. Like you're about to have a kid, which is going to change life a lot more.
100%. Yeah. So I'll probably. I should probably just put the dust on the bow now.
It's already there, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. You're right.
In regards to, I guess, maybe some of the top things that you kind of give to beginners when they come out to hunting. I know we kind of already talked about it a little bit, but is there like a few tips you commonly find you're giving to people when they first come and start hunting with you if they're more in the beginner route?
The biggest thing I try and relay is just having that, and I remember from our very first podcast, just trying to relay patience.
Yeah,
You can't,
it's a hard thing to teach,
and it's a hard thing to it's a hard thing to get over the line too, especially when you are on a hunt like where you are on a time frame, and it's hard to want to rein back and say, hey, look, let's just take it a little bit slower.
Yeah,
this is a good area, and then. Yeah, like I was saying, when you're on a time delay, sometimes blokes are just like, "Nah, let's just go." Let's just go. Let's just go. And it's like, yeah, it's good. You cover a lot of country, but you'll still miss a lot of things too. So that's just my biggest thing with everyone.
So are you a pretty stealthy hunter in general?
Some days.
Yeah. Like situational.
Some creeks, should I say. Some creeks are like walking on cornflakes. But, like with hunting creeks, because obviously we're hunting boars that are asleep or bedded.
Yeah.
Their ears are going all the time.
Yeah,
so you've got to have some element. But there's also going too slow.
Yeah.
Where you don't
definitely
cover any ground at all.
Yeah.
So, and then that comes back to wanting to get them every opportunity I can. So, like, I walk at a quiet, brisk pace.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always thought I didn't realize I was an aggressive hunter until I started hunting with other people, and I was like, wow, I'm actually pretty aggressive in my approach. And that taught me when I find an animal to slow down. But at the same time, like the red blocks that I started hunting on, there's just not that much game there. So you pretty much, in a sense,
if you see something, that's your opportunity.
Exactly right. Yeah. And in the sense that if you can't see it as well, then you have to work to cover the ground to be able to see it.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's taught me then bad habits. Then when it goes to a block where there is a lot of opportunity, it becomes very different.
Yeah, and that like you say, until you start hunting with other people, like that's something that it happened to me a lot too, because I've spent a lot of time hunting by myself, and same thing. Even like back in my younger days, you go hunting with Dad again or with a couple of other mates, and all of a sudden, like you just said, it's like, whoa, okay, hang on, I gotta
slow down. I gotta slow down.
Yeah, so yeah.
Are you saying something I'm not? Because
like it still happens to me. I can still get a good march on some days, but and relevant to the area you're in too.
Definitely.
Like if I know we're coming up to a spot where this creek is just rocks,
it always
like. Nothing's going to bed on rocks.
No, exactly.
I don't like sleeping on rocks. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I'll try and get a bit of a hurry up going through those areas so that at least we can still...
slow down when you need to.
Yeah. Like, use the day efficiently.
So, you're going into a creek, the top level, because usually you've got kind of your creek bed versus up higher, like the banks. The banks are in leafy, just downfall. The creek is... sand. What are you going to choose to walk on?
I always try and walk in the creek. I always like to stick to the shady side of the creek. If it's wide enough creek. Yeah. Because I don't want to miss something under your feet. Like I don't want to be walking because they're like most of our creeks do have a good cattle pad that will run up on the edge. Yeah. But also it's happened a few times where you'll be walking, scanning like the creek that you can see, and all of a sudden, one will come out from underneath you on the bank. Like, I don't want to miss that opportunity either. Yeah. And whereas, like I know it'll pull it out of you walking in the sand. Yes. But I know walking down in that sand's a lot quieter than walking up
on top
in amongst those leaves, and like a lot of the country we get is pretty thick sometimes. Like you get this stuff called sickle pod. Like it grows super, super thick, and you just can't. There's no way of navigating it quietly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, like a lot of the times, it is your only option.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously wind dependent, but that like you'll tread through it whether it's water or sand. You pretty much.
Well, Aside from this year, most of the time it is just sand. You might have a pocket of water every 200-300 meters. But yeah, like this year was there was a fair bit more water around this year. But having said that, like a lot of it was still just coming out of springs, but because the water table was just that full, it was flowing.
Yeah, well,
but it'd still be only like you might have a creek that's 6-7 meters wide, but there's like a trickle like a half a meter wide of water running.
And I think that obviously gives you a lot of extra coverage to be able to walk through sand, because the sound like that, it only has that much to it. And if you've got a constant trickle, like it's not really going to make that much of an effect of you walking through that.
Yeah.
Versus crunching, it's a very different sound.
It's very loud. It's very and like I don't know what it is, but you can watch a pig walk through that stuff, even a cow sometimes. They've got 4 feet and they're making nowhere near the noise you are with 2.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just...
I think it's the weight distribution, right, with the flat foot compared to the...
big round hoof.
Exactly.
And,
small little surface area pressing on them. It must be the difference, right?
Yeah.
I remember one of the hunts is actually when I did a hunt with James, and he was like so quiet across the sand, and I jumped on, I was like, like the biggest amount of noise. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just trying to walk, bro." That's why I actually had to ask the question about the sand or the leaves.
Yeah,
it's funny because it is my choice too, because you're right, they just tend to bed, and even when there's water in the creek, they'll bed down like in the roots of the trees and whatever else. If there's any little hollow they can get into, they'll be in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Obviously, if it's easy enough to get in there.
Yeah, exactly. I had one this year. It was actually bedded. Like I like to poke up into the little feeder creeks that come onto the main ones, because that's where these creeks are only like they'll be 4 to 5 feet wide, so they feel a lot more enclosed, a lot more
sheltered in general. Yeah.
So I always poke my head up into those as well, because you can never guarantee it.
No,
but it's a good option.
Definitely.
But one coming on this real rocky bank, like sandy bottom, rocky bank, and there was this big hole cut out in the side of the bank, and we were walking the opposite side of the creek, and just walk past the bend for this little feeder creek, and halfway up the bank is this big black thing.
No way.
Sitting in this hole, like, it's just how they even get to some of those places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just must find them along their travels, right? And be like, hey, that looks pretty comfy.
Yeah. And then, like, client had a shot at that one and missed it. But, I went over there to have a bit of a look, just to sort of get an idea of how he even got up there, because there was a wallow in the creek right below it. And then it was actually back up in... And up on top of the bank, there was a little rocky trail that came down. It would have been like your handspan wide.
So
and
crazy,
they were just walking along that, getting into that little hole.
You think about a big old 100-kilo boar, like they can still walk with their feet pretty close to each other as they go, yeah. In regards to like patterning pigs, and up there, obviously you're like, okay, well, we're going to try keep to the food source, the water source, and the girls where possible. But is there any way of patterning them as such? Like, is it something that you say, okay, well, there's been boars in this part before, and I'm pretty sure I've seen this boar come back multiple times. Is that a thing that happens or not really?
It'll happen around, like, with your food sources. Mm-hmm. Well, there's probably 1,000 schools of thought on it. Definitely. But this is just from what I've noticed. From the food sources, I'll see that a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's only for the duration, obviously, of that food source.
Yes.
So, especially if we've got a dead beast on the ground, if there's one good boar in that area, there's a good chance you'll see him each day.
Yeah.
But he's not coming in till like just after shooting light without fail.
Pretty funny, right? It's super interesting. So I'm going on a hunt next weekend, going to Ebor with Matt Williamson. His guy reached out and just said, look, I've got a block at Ebor. Do you want to come? It's unhunted, so it's not been touched before, which is awesome. And he's gone ahead and he's put up some cameras, and he's actually been chucking some grain out for them. And we've seen this one boar, and it's come multiple times of the day. It just keeps, like, multiple boars actually have come at multiple times of the day, because they just don't have that pressure. So I'm very intrigued to see that once we're feet on the ground, there's a bit more wind and smell of us about, if the same thing happens, or if it's because it's just not that hunted, if they just think we're farmers and they don't really care much for us. I'm really intrigued to see what happens. I was talking to, I'm pretty sure it's Jace Richards, JR, what is his... I'll find it anyway. And he was saying pretty much like across the year, you can see how a pig will go. Sorry, give me a second.
You're right.
This is important, I think.
Yeah, Jason Ritchie. He's J.R. _ huntfish _ outdoors. And he puts,
Shout out.
Yeah, he puts down some incredible pigs, man. Like, it's just insane. The stuff that he puts down is just huge. I'll let you look at that for a bit. He puts them down trad bow, puts them down with the recurve. Recurve with the compound. He used to be a professional pig shooter.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of these actually.
Yeah, pretty impressive sized pigs. And he was saying over the year, you can essentially map out what a pig will do. Like, you can essentially map and, I guess, to some extent, say they're going to be predictable to this extent based on the time of year, the heat, the cold, the water sources, the food sources, exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
But realistically, you're not going to necessarily be able to find one boar and say he's going to do this every single day.
No.
Like,
and I've found that too up there. Like I know I was just saying you'll see them every day coming back in, but I know they don't get a chance to feed them like good protein like that every week.
So a
that's
big beast
why
they're happy
that makes,
for.
That you know you're probably going to see him a few times on that.
Yeah.
But the other thing too with trying to, obviously with having clients coming for the season, we got to try and manage the country too. So
Definitely.
if there's a certain boar that a client really wants to hunt, like it's kind of, I mean, it's a hard one because you want them to achieve their goal, but also you got to remember that if we're flogging this one area for a whole week trying to find one pig, you've centered a whole hell of an area and you've kicked out probably another couple of good boars that were hanging in the area. So it's I mean, it's doable, but yeah, you just got to, and plus for us having that much country up there, we don't really
try to touch the same ground.
Oh, you don't really have to sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, understandably. Something that you got to do quite a lot of was boiling skulls out. And
I've done a
jaws.
little bit of that, yeah.
What did you learn about that along the way?
Times. Like, if you get a good rolling boil, 26 to 27 minutes for a set of jaws, and they're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, meaning get it to the boil, chuck them in, keep it boiling for the whole time.
Yeah, rolling boil, then put them in.
Yeah.
And then, obviously it'll stop once you chuck them in, but it'll get back on again. And always, I've done it, and I've done it myself. Like, I've done it to 24, 25, nothing, and then 26, boom,
punch
off
them.
they go.
Yeah, there you go. And just if you're doing just the bottom jaw only?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if clients want a full head, we'll put the bigger pot on and do that when we're doing bulls.
And so a lot of the time are people taking their jaws back with them straight away, or are you sending them?
Oh yeah, they'll take them with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How about a big skull for a bull?
I had to bring one back with me this year and put that one in the post when I got home. It depends on how the people come in too.
Yeah.
Like if some of our clients that come up from Sydney, they'll drive the whole way.
Yeah. Wow.
Just
Is that like 3-day drive, 4-day?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
But they'll sometimes blokes make a trip of it. They'll take a week off prior.
Yeah.
Just have a bit of a holiday on their way up, have their hunt, and then holiday on the way back.
Yeah, how good.
But the only time that we'll, because everyone's so excited, they just want to get their trophy home. And, but when the blokes are on the mail plane, obviously that's kind of a bit harder with weights and that sort of thing. So
it's like I've only boiled really 2 skulls now, and it takes a lot longer than I thought it was going to be honest. Like, I was like, oh yeah, everyone kind of talks about it being like a 2-hour process and you're good to go. Whereas I found, like, especially in the nose, like the cartilage right up high, like especially the one main beam that goes the whole way through, that part was always the last part for me to be able to get all of it out. Like, you can get majority of it out, but you've still got probably it's just like the depths of it essentially to be able to get out. And that was what I think my deer head, and it wasn't on a full boil, but I had him in there for hours, man. Like, I think I did 6 hours one day and then another lot of 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
And it was obviously just wasn't super heavy burn as such.
Yep.
But yeah, it just felt like it took a lot longer.
It's like, when you're slow cooking something, you cook it from sun up to sundown, don't you? If you've got it in for a roll and boil, it's not in there for real long.
Well, and that's what I was afraid of, because you can get I don't know, let's just say a shoulder and chuck it in, and you can crunch those bones by the end of the day with your teeth. And I was like, I don't want that to happen with these skulls. Like, put them on the rack and they just crumble on me.
Yeah. Well, I know when we're doing a bull, obviously when you get home late in the afternoon on the day, if the client wants the skull, like that day is not normally a good day to try and do it
Definitely.
because that's a big arvo. But normally the next day, if one of us is back early, we do have a camp cook, so he'll normally fill it up and get it on the boil for us before we get back. And if it goes in sort of around that 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, sort of by 9-10,
it should be right.
Yeah, we're pulling it out and pressure cleaning it.
You pressure clean it straight away, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Get it while it's all soft and smooth. And whatever.
Yeah. Like you're just saying with that nasal cavity. Sometimes if you've got a bit of a heat-proof glove, you can just grab the end of their nose. The whole lot will come out sometimes.
So I did that, and both times just broke just that, like I said, just the little depths of it. So it was like pretty much the main chunk of it all came, and it was just like the actual groove that it didn't come out on. So that's why it was a shit job, I think, and had to take it longer. But yeah.
Learning.
Exactly, yeah. Do you put anything in there with it to whiten it or anything like that?
Water.
No. And do you recommend that they do anything more to the skulls when they get them home?
It depends on what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
Some blokes, we've had a couple of blokes that have actually given them to people to paint the skull.
Yeah.
So obviously it doesn't really
matter what happens
yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but like peroxide normally, that'll do it.
So I got given the hot tip to chuck the nappy sand in with when they're boiling, and you saw that the skulls they come up really white, they look really nice, and that worked well. And pretty much what I got told was it's just not as brutal as what the peroxide is. It's not going to change I just guess the texture.
Yeah, well, I used to do bleach.
Yes.
And I got told that over time it makes it, and I've seen it now. That time's gone. Yeah, it just goes real chalky after a while.
Yeah.
Bit gross.
Kind of like a bit of a sun kiss, a long-term sun kiss, right?
Yeah. Like when you find an old antler or something, they're real chalky. And
Actually, someone messaged me and said that I should be careful with where I've even got mine because they're on display right by the sun and they get sun every day. It's like they'll eventually get that same sort of sun kiss.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, damn it, because it's such a good place where they are. Finally convinced the wife to have them on display all the time.
That makes me rethink where I got some more.
I know, right? Yeah, it's not something I'd ever thought of, especially if you think about the regular sun is hot enough, but it's coming through and getting magnified by the glass. Probably going to do some damage potentially. Yeah.
I reckon being inside anyway, it'll take a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Because they're not getting full sunlight all day. It's only like that couple of hours. You're at least safe for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with a kid on the way, what do things look like for you in the coming years? Like the plan is to keep going if you can?
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah.
I'll do what I can. Obviously, with everything, work or anything, family always comes first. So.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, you don't know how your kid's going to be. You don't know how you guys are going to take it as parents. So it's like...
Never had one before. So.
Exactly. There's so much that can change within the next 6 months. When is your season? When do you usually go?
Our season is from the end of July through to the end of November. And I'll normally, if we're going to have a bit of a clump of weeks where there's a few bigger groups or even just like the clients that I've booked, try and get them all in all my ducks in a row, basically.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'll go up for a big block and do that because obviously I've still got a full-time job back here in Brisbane.
Definitely, still got to do the rest of life.
Yeah. So I've got to try and keep everyone happy.
happy wife, happy job, happy everything else, right? Like it's hard to do.
Worn out Mitch.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, so your holidays are working, are they? Great. It's kind of what it becomes.
Yeah.
So pretty much nothing guaranteed as for next year, but if someone wanted to potentially go on a hunt with you, what's that look like?
I've been given a semi thumbs up from the wife.
Okay.
So that's a step in the right direction.
Definitely.
So, but like you say, with the young fella coming along, we don't
sure.
Yeah, don't know where we're going to be. And
Yeah.
So we'll take it as it comes. But like we're still obviously. Scott's a great bloke, great guide, very accommodating man, one of the nicest people I've ever met. We'll still try and make anything work for everyone. So.
Yeah, definitely. And so if they wanted to get in touch with Scott, where can they do that?
On our Instagram page is probably a good spot to get in touch with Scott. I could probably give you his phone number.
No, that's fine.
He's a bit of an older bloke, so he's
he'll have 100 calls and be so happy to
he's
chat
more
to
a phone
them.
call bloke.
What is his Instagram?
It's just I think it's Mitchell _Cape York _adventures.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty certain that's what it is.
I set it up. I should know.
Mitchell _Cape _York _adventures.
And then for you, future hunts, what does that look like? Do you have anything kind of planned in the coming years? Is there any I guess, things that you would like to tick off?
Oh, look, there's always a dream of going back to Africa again. I think that one's a few years away yet.
Yeah.
I think last time we spoke, I was talking about wanting to go to New Zealand. Still haven't been
happened.
there. Yeah,
That's
it's
all right.
just I'd like to.
New Zealand would be fun. That would be a sick
it would
hunt.
be fun. Yeah, so I'd just be happy if I got out to my pig block out at St George, honestly, for a weekend.
just to go hunting would be nice.
Yeah, so but no, nothing major, but I'll just try and get out for a couple of days over the run next year. And that's pretty much
Fallow or red?
Fallows down there.
Yeah, and if you had the preference of a deer to chase around Australia, is there anyone that you would?
I'd love to hunt a rooster, but obviously don't have a block for them yet.
No, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm only still a young bloke relatively,
definitely do.
Plenty of time to worry about all that. So, but for myself, I'd rather still keep helping other blokes. For now, and while I'm still young and fit and can help.
Can actually do it, right? So have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like what we were saying to you before. Like we chose to travel a lot when we were younger, me and my wife, and that was really nice, and we appreciate that. And maybe it's put us behind a little bit, like we don't have our own house or anything like that. But we've really lived our lives and loved our lives so far. I think the same sort of thing can be said for you and your guiding, right? Like you've gone and you've chosen to do guiding and give that a real kind of red hot crack where you could.
And
which is something you might not be able to do later.
Oh, exactly. And the fact that because I sort of have been hunting from a young age, I've done a fair bit.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm satisfied.
Yes.
Going hunting for me nowadays is it's more just to basically get away.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly.
Just if I shoot something, great. If I don't, I come out for a great walk and seen a heap of stuff. So
it was funny. I think that was one of my biggest turning points in bow hunting was that I realized that it was going to be a forever thing. Like I was going to keep hunting, and so if it didn't happen that weekend, all of a sudden my perspective had changed. Like previously, it was like I'd always go away from a hunt very disappointed. Like, oh, God damn it, didn't come together again. I just spent my whole weekend and nothing happened. Although I love that, and you actually, that hardship is also something that's so good about bow hunting.
It builds your character for future.
It really does, but my perspective changed so much on that as but how good was that bird you saw? Or how good was that, that odd thing that happened? It just changed the whole spin. Exactly. Yeah. It was just interesting to be like, oh, hold up. I really like hunting and this is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It'll be here. So that was an interesting change or an interesting shift in my mind, definitely.
Yeah.
It changed the way I think even the pressure on yourself as a hunter. And that's a pretty interesting thing. I think something that social media has done a horrible job for most people, right? Because it's like, oh, I got to show this, I got to show that. And I think maybe documenting my whole journey was maybe not the smartest thing in regards to that, but it's worked out really well for myself and for others as well. So
yeah, and I know I probably I should probably put a few more photos and stuff like that up, but I just I don't really get on it that much anymore.
No, exactly.
I kind of want to just listen to your talk with Adam the other week. He got talking about the old magazines and stuff like that. And I remember buying them with Dad.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. It was that was cool because there was more anticipation around that. What's going to be in the next issue?
There's actually one of the forums that started back up.
I've heard about it.
I can't remember the website. I literally, so I started up an email list to give away the knife, and I went gun ho. I put up a whole heap of, I think they're really good quality emails, and I got a really good lot of feedback from them. And one of the ones they gave was a plug to it that you can jump across and jump on it because I think it's a great idea. Something different, a different forum where you don't have to necessarily post for everyone to be able to see, and then throw their opinions at you. You can go in with a whole heap of like-minded guys and girls and show you bow hunting.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because a group of the fellas that come up this year are from that AHN.
And what's that?
Australian
Hunting
I think it's
Network.
Australian. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And two of the blokes were mates, but the third fella that come with them, they know each other through that, but never same thing, never met each other, but they booked a hunt together. And
it's cool.
After talking to them, that happens a lot on there. So that's probably a very similar thing.
Definitely, and it's funny because I think, especially on Facebook, you can see just people are real dicks, unfortunately. Like, people will come in and they'll post something not knowing that they shouldn't necessarily ask those sorts of questions, and people just rip them a new one. You're like, how about you be a bit more diplomatic about it and just, hey, you're obviously new to it. That's probably not something you should ask. This might be the better approach to go about it.
Yeah, that's the quickest way to put someone,
off and
the
think,
growth of your sport.
Exactly.
It's the quickest way to kill it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no wonder hunters get a name for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what the talk is. Yeah, come join me, you can't. Like,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's a bloody
Sorry for
another
the
kettle of fish.
The C-bomb. Yeah, I feel so bad. I went for a barbecue last night, and one of my good mates, Pete and Steve, and Pete's kids listen to the podcast all the time, and I just went and dropped a C-bomb.
Oh,
like, I said to Archie, the little son, I said, so do you have a swear jar for me yet? Because I often just let a few things slide.
Nah, you're only human, mate.
Exactly right. Awesome, man. Well, it's been a good little chat. Thank you for making the effort to come around.
That's all good, mate. Thanks for having us.
Any parting words? Anything you want to drop with the crew?
Just get out there and do what you want to do.
Go enjoy it.
Do what you love. Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I'll often put out content and not actually be living any of it whatsoever, apart from the talk that I'm doing right now. It's like this week is very different. I got hunting yesterday. I get to go hunting next week, and I'm like, hey, this is very fortunate. But it's like the one thing that I at least always hope is that someone else is out there enjoying themselves, going out hunting, going out and flinging some arrows in the backyard or whatever. It's like that little parting part of Like, I just hope you're doing it if I'm not at least getting to enjoy it.
It's funny you say that. 'Cause the other day when I was at Dog and Gun, shot a few arrows with Sean, and just doing that. Like,
so good, right?
It's just like, it was after a day of work, and it was just like something I would not normally do when I get home from work.
Definitely.
Got your routine there, and instead I went there and flung a few hours with him. And
so nice. I like that.
Yeah, it was relaxing.
It's always fun. I love going to their headquarters and being able to shoot and whatever. Like, you always know you're in for a good talk at least, if not some good shooting.
Great mob of guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Actually,
and girls.
Yeah, exactly. That night that we all caught up, when James was down and we all caught up, that stuck in my head. That's definitely that's like a good highlight for this year.
Yeah.
Was that this year? It was, yeah.
Yeah, I think earlier this year, yeah.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was really good fun.
Oh, it was good too, like we were just saying about not poo-pooing newbies, like that. You had that fella messenger just got his first deer.
10 years it took him. James Frew, the New Zealand guy. It took him 10 years to get his first deer down. And I just got the message before I hopped in the car to get to you guys. And I got there and told you all about it. And everyone's like, let's send him some voice messages.
Yeah.
So everyone from around the table sent a voice message. And then the guys at Dog and Gun actually organised to get him some coffees as well. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And that's like... That's what it should be.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's the welcoming in. And even the 10 years, 1 year, 1 month, it shouldn't matter, right?
Oh, exactly.
It's like, whatever it takes. It's that welcoming in.
It's an achievement either
exactly
way,
right. Yeah. Everyone's a trophy. Like, my trophies are very different to everyone else's.
Exactly. Well, something I actually say to a lot of people is like like you just said, your trophies are your trophies. Mm-hmm. That hunt is your hunt.
Definitely.
No one can take that away from you. So it doesn't matter if it's a new world record or just an average animal.
Yeah.
Like the experience was yours.
Yeah. Definitely.
No one else's,
Exactly right. With that being said, though, what are some of like the biggest boars that you see? Like, do you do Douglas scores or anything like that?
Yeah.
Those points.
Yeah.
What's some of the biggest boars you guys get up there?
So the biggest set I've measured up there, I think, with 32 and 4/8.
Wow.
Like, yeah, he's all right.
Yeah. Pretty beefy.
Yeah. So, and they, it's good to get those fellas.
Definitely.
And that's another thing. It's never a guarantee.
No, exactly right. And I mean, something like that, right? That's a rarity, isn't it? It's not like every boar's going to be 32. It's just that he's 32 and 4/8 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not it's not something that happens. Look, exactly. It could. Like, it's just the opportunities. The opportunities around that next bend.
Definitely.
So
I love that about hunting, though, when you're out and it's like, you know what, we could just go this one more ridge. Like, we could just go this one more bend of the creek, and that's where they all could be. It's like every new turn or every new arch you go over, it's just that next little excitement in your belly, like, oh, this could be it.
Yep. And it's those times when it does happen that keep fueling you for each other time. So
definitely,
it's an endless circle, that one.
It is. Well, although you're not on it that much, what's your Instagram again?
I think it's just
Mitch.Warren.
Mitch.Warren.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome, man. Well, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.